Now, former football player, former NFL player, former New England Patriot, Aaron Hernandez has reportedly committed suicide in jail. Now, basically what happened was Aaron Hernandez, he was accused of murder. I think he was charged with 3 murders. He got acquitted of 2 of them and convicted of one of them. And he basically had he was serving a life sentence. And the only strange thing about his suicide is that he apparently committed suicide after being acquitted of double homicide. So he got acquitted for 2 murders, and then he committed suicide. But despite the acquittal on the 2 murders, he was still serving a life sentence in prison for the other murder that he got convicted of. So allegedly, he allegedly committed these 2 murders and then killed his friend to make sure that he wouldn't get to cover up the other 2 murders. Because I guess the 3rd person he killed was maybe a potential witness against him in the other 2 murders that he allegedly committed. But in the end, he got acquitted of those 2 murders, but he got convicted of the murder that he allegedly did in order to cover up the other 2 murders. So anyway, so he committed suicide. They reported that he committed suicide. Some people are saying that he couldn't have committed suicide. I think one of his agents said that he wouldn't have committed suicide. But I mean, for some people are saying that it could have been a murder. I don't know. But I think, first of all, I don't think it would be a good idea. I don't think that the authorities or the correctional officers would want to murder a high-profile prisoner like that, because from what I understand, these people don't like scrutiny. They don't like outside attention, because when you have a high-profile prisoner like Aaron Hernandez, if he dies, you get a lot of attention focused on the prison. You get outside attention. You get journalists coming and poking and looking around and asking questions. You maybe get outside law enforcement agencies coming in, and they don't like that, because prison is a closed environment. Nobody comes in prison. Nobody knows the outside world can't see inside prisons. They don't really know what's going on in there. So it can run in a certain way without anybody asking questions. But then if you have a high profile prisoner who dies, then you get all these outside people coming in asking questions, disrupting whatever things are going on in there. So I don't think that the prison authorities would have wanted Aaron Hernandez dead. So I suspect it was probably just a regular suicide. Maybe he realized he was never getting out of prison. Even though he got acquitted of those 2 murders, he was still serving that life sentence. So maybe that's why he killed himself. Now, this guy, Aaron Hernandez, he was born in Bristol, Connecticut in 1989. And his father was of Puerto Rican descent. His mother was of Italian descent. Now, his father died when he was a teenager, when Hernandez was 16, and some people say that had a big impact on him, and maybe he started engaging in criminal activity because of that. I don't know. But now I'm not sure if Hernandez grew up in a bad neighborhood. I'm not sure. But from what I understand, in a lot of bad neighborhoods, the local gangsters will not mess. They won't mess with the athletes. With talented athletes basically get a free pass from the gangsters. So this guy, Aaron Hernandez, as a talented football player, he did not have to engage in criminal activity. He didn't have to go in. He basically did not have to try to prove anything to the gangsters. He didn't have to do that. So he did this unnecessarily, even from the beginning. It's not because, say you have a regular person who grows up in a certain neighborhood and they grow up around a lot of gangsters. They may grow up getting threatened by gangsters. Then obviously the police are not going to protect them. So they may feel the need to arm themselves and defend themselves, or they may feel the need to affiliate themselves with some type of other gangsters to defend, whatever, to defend themselves or to be protected. Or they may feel they need to commit violent crimes in order to prove themselves and so on. But since Aaron Hernandez was a football player, he didn't need to do all of that stuff in order to prove himself. So he committed crimes. He decided to engage in violence. He chose to do that. He chose that behavior. He wasn't forced to do that, to engage in that behavior. And now he has a long history of these allegations of violent behavior. In 2007, in Gainesville, Florida, he refused to pay a bill in a restaurant. A restaurant employee escorted him out of the premises, and then as the employee walked away, Hernandez basically, I guess, sucker punched the employee and ruptured his eardrum. Now, but he didn't get charged for that incident. The incident was settled out of court. And that's another thing. A lot of people, if you have somebody who's a talented athlete, sometimes they get a lot of free passes. They get away with a lot of stuff. And you see this in some of these schools, high schools, colleges, and up into the professional leagues. And even you have people who are affiliated with football, say a football program, like the Penn State coach, Jerry Sandusky. He was raping little boys, and they were covering up for him because of the prominence of the football program in that college. So this is what maybe another issue that Hernandez had, is that because he was a talented athlete, he was getting all these free passes when he was committing all these violent crimes. People were covering up for him. They weren't charging him. And in 2007 in Gainesville, again, there was a shooting, and Hernandez was allegedly the shooter. I think but he didn't get arrested for this, apparently. There were no I think he maybe got picked up by police, but he refused to talk, and there were no charges laid at that time. In 2012, you had a double homicide in Boston. 2 men were killed by gunshots. 29-year-old Daniel George Correa de Abreu and Safiro Furtado, 28 years old, both of Dorchester. Now, that was a double homicide that Hernandez was found not guilty of on April 14, 2017. In 2013, there was another shooting in Miami. Now, it was Hernandez's friend Alexander Bradley claimed that Hernandez had shot him, and I guess Bradley laid a lawsuit. He didn't take it to a criminal level, but he filed a lawsuit against Hernandez, saying that Hernandez had shot him. I think Bradley said he lost his right eye in this shooting. Then again in 2013, Hernandez murdered Odin Lloyd, who was another friend, and I think the Odin Lloyd killing was allegedly to cover up the 2012 double homicide in Boston. So, and in the end, that the murder of Lloyd is really what brought Hernandez down, or what gave him that murder, that first degree murder conviction, that it basically gave him the life sentence in prison. So I guess he couldn't, I guess Hernandez really didn't want to serve out his whole life sentence, because I guess so he apparently used bedspreads in his prison cell to hang himself. And so anyway, I mean, this guy, he made his choices. He didn't have to. When he was a teenager, when he was young, even before he made it to the NFL, he was a talented football player. He didn't have to do all that criminal stuff. Then he got to the NFL, he's making all this money, and he still wants to shoot people. That was idiotic in my opinion. His behavior was idiotic. He didn't have to engage in that behavior. He could have got a, once, if somebody's rich, if you're rich, if I get rich, I would never have to be around any kind of criminal element or any kind of dangerous situation. I would have a huge mansion with big gates. Nobody would be able to come close to me. I would have security. I would never have to shoot anybody. I would never have to be involved in any type of violent altercations. And but this idiot, this guy Hernandez, who was an idiot, he decided that he was a millionaire. Or he's making millions of dollars playing for the NFL, and he still wants to go around shooting people. He still wants to be a gangster. I think it was the idiot.